Hey guys, how's it going? Today, Erin and I want to share the story of Garden Answer. We hit our 10-year anniversary of posting videos this past June. We didn't take the time at that moment to stop and kind of talk through the last 10 years because we were so busy in June. But now it's perfect because if you can see, especially in the view of Erin, there's snow on the ground. We got a ton of snow yesterday. It's really cold and soggy and wet outside, so it's perfect to sit down and just talk through what it's been like, kind of some of the things that led us up to starting Garden Answer, and then what it was like in the beginning, middle, and what it's like now, because it's changed a lot.
A lot.
In 10 and a half years. Quite a lot of things. So this is kind of a personal story time. We'll be sharing some personal stuff here and there, which we don't typically do on this channel. If you're here for a gardening video, just wait for the next one we post. That will be a gardening video. But I think from time to time, it's fun to talk through like all the things that have happened. I enjoy hearing about people's lives and you know what brought them to the moment they're in at that time. I don't know. It's just
absolutely.
It's kind of interesting. So we'll start back.
2006?
We got married in 2006, so over 18 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, that in and of itself is it's crazy. We got married in September and we moved into our first townhouse.
Yeah.
Which was like a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. I don't remember how many square feet, like 12, 1,100?
Well, I think it was maybe close to 1,000. It was pretty small.
Feet. It was pretty small, but I did have a gardening space. It was like 8 feet by 10 feet maybe outside. And then I had a very long, skinny, like maybe 8 feet long by 2 feet deep flower bed. Had gravel in it. So I I pulled all the gravel out and did mulch and plants. And then I did a pot right by the garage. So that was my first solo attempt at gardening. And many of you know I do come from a garden background. My parents own a garden center here locally. And so I grew up around that. I grew up in my parents' garden, which we've toured you through as well. And it's a pretty spectacular garden, especially now. It's mature and it's terraced. It's a beautiful spot and it's full of memories for me because it's largely where I grew up. We moved out there when I was 6 years old. So that's really what I remember.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we lived in a house that I can see the tree in the backyard from our house. Like right now, I can see the tree in the backyard of that house. And I have a few memories from that place, but nothing like from the place they're in. But it was my first attempt at gardening and it was in a 55 plus community.
Yeah.
We got in sort of on a technicality because the street that had all the 55 plus townhouses or duplexes, one side of our duplex faced that community and then our side faced the outside street.
Right.
So I think you had to maybe butter them up a little bit.
Yeah, I called the number on the sign and I just told them, I was like, hey, we're looking for a place. We're newly married. We don't have kids. We don't have pets. We're going to be the best tenants you ever had. We won't make a mess. Just trust me. You'll be happy if you rent to us. And he said yes. And yeah, they got us in kind of on a technicality. And I think we were like maybe one of their best tenants.
Well, I don't know about best, but I think they liked having us there.
Yeah.
We weren't there for too long.
We didn't cause any issues.
No, in fact, they brought people over.
Yeah, that's right.
When they had friends come to town, they would call and say, hey, can we come tour them through your apartment?
Yeah, because you got permission to like paint
and put some stuff. I did some projects.
Did some stuff on the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. They were really great first landlords for us. And then it was, let's see, so September was when we moved in there. The following...
Like a year and a half.
Year and a half later. I have to look at my dates here. I'm glad. I told Erin, I'm not going to need dates. I remember the dates. I don't remember. 2008. So just over a year and a half later in May, we moved into our second duplex or townhouse, which was right next door to Erin's parents. We lived there for 8 years.
Yeah, but we actually bought that one.
We did.
We weren't renting it. And I think it was like $150,000.
I think it was sub 150.
It might have been. It might have been like 145.
135 sticks in my brain.
You know, I think it's that's later in the story, but I think we bought the other side for 135.
Oh, okay. So it was low hundreds when we bought it. That was in 2008. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and we got a 3-month loan from your parents to help us out. It was about $8,000.
Which is the only time either of our parents have ever given us money. Just to put it out there because I know we get a lot of comments saying, well, it must be nice that you come from money or, a privileged background. And we are privileged in that we came from very stable homes.
Yeah.
Both of our parents are still married and that's an invaluable thing. I mean, the security and stability that we had growing up was like,
we both had really safe environments
we
to grow up
really
in,
did.
and that's really, really helpful.
But we both had, neither of our families had much money.
No,
growing
what
up.
would you say, like, the whole time growing up that we were there, our parents, well, they were one income families.
Yep.
And it was somewhere between like $30,000 and $50,000.
Maybe.
And then maybe a little bit more, because I know your mom did some stuff and my mom would do piano lessons.
Yeah.
You know, your mom would work a little bit.
My dad had side hustles too, like
Yeah.
taking care of people's lawns, keeping them on a schedule to keep like fertilizer applications and amendment applications. He would take us around every once in a while too. He'd take us to a gas station to get a candy bar, a treat, and then we'd go around with him to his jobs. But he did extra stuff, and so did my mom, so that we could have piano lessons and do some of the, or like my mom would do a yard sale so that she could like take us to McDonald's or Pizza Hut.
Oh.
You know, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So we did get an $8,000 loan at the time that we bought that townhouse.
Yeah,
because
it
we
was,
couldn't quite make it happen.
It was technically, you know, like gifted funds. So, you know, we weren't like under obligation to pay it back, but, you know, we wanted to pay it back as quick as possible. So we made sure that we got it paid back in about 3 months. And so we were, you know,
Square.
we were square.
Yes.
We're good.
Yeah, but that was very nice of them to be able
Very
to do
helpful.
that at that time. Otherwise, maybe we put,
Well, you know, it might have been better, honestly, because that was 2008, and then there was the housing crash in 2009. So had we waited and saved up a little bit more money, it's possible we could have got a bigger place for less money. You know, you never know how your
a
life...
lot of things, so we'll talk about some of them, like either did or didn't happen in our life, like doors were open and shut.
Yeah.
In a way that, I mean, it just...
Well, I think
Which is
around
your
that
life.
time, you know, I think it was prior to moving in, we put an offer on a house that was going for like 140, and I think
146, I think.
was that what it was? And we
think
offered
that's-
140,
I think so, maybe.
and they said no.
I think we offered 141. I think it was $5,000 lower
Yeah.
than their asking price, and they said no, thank the Lord.
Yeah, because we would have hated living in that neighborhood.
Yeah, you can see it from here.
Yeah.
You can see that house from here. I'm so glad we were, because at that time, that was a lot of money. And
Sure.
that
Yeah,
would
yeah.
have been, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Because, you know, when we started Garden Answer, we were, that's a little bit later on, I guess, in our journey. So let me go back. So we moved into our townhouse in 2008. And that was my first, not solo attempt at gardening, but my first being able to garden on my own. My own place that we actually owned. And when we moved in, and this was a fairly new subdivision, your parents built in 2006, the year we got married, and then we moved into the place next door to them in 2008, so it wasn't that old at all. And so there was just grass and 2 baby trees, which we immediately took the baby trees out because they were positioned not how I wanted them, and they were not the varieties I wanted, and we started tearing out grass. So that was my first, like, getting to start from a blank slate, like being able to tear stuff out and do it the way that I wanted to. And I didn't even know how I wanted to back then. It was just all kind of trial and error. But I got to bring home a lot of different things from the garden center that were damaged, crushed during shipment, sick things. That's largely what I filled our garden with in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I was working as many overtime hours as I could volunteer for. I'd volunteer for every Sunday watering through the summer, any holiday hours. I would volunteer for that because I always had this plant IOU that was this
Yeah, you
long.
did too.
I did. I just enjoyed it so much, and I did not ever see myself enjoying that like I did, because I went to college to be an RN, and I didn't make it through the whole program. I did my first 2 years, and then I realized this is not the direction I want my life to go. Then I went overseas to go to college, and then came home, ended up working at the church. Aaron's dad pastors a church, so I worked there as a secretary. That's where we met, and then I worked in business banking. I worked at a vet clinic for a number of years. I just never saw myself like ending up at the garden center working and enjoying gardening as much as I did, because I grew up doing it. It was chores back then.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all I saw it as. But then when I actually started doing it, this world opened up. It was crazy.
So I remember our time living in the second townhouse, the one we bought, as sort of like a number of years of kind of autopilot.
Yeah.
You know, because we didn't have kids.
Right.
We were both working.
Yeah.
And we were both working a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you volunteered for hours, and I kind of was voluntold to do extra hours.
Yeah.
I was working in sales, and then I knew that program was going away, so I shifted it to just become a cable technician. And in that field, you pretty much just have to work until the work is done for the day. If someone has an appointment, you're just going to work. If it takes till 9 p.m. and you're supposed to get off at 5, too bad. You
Right.
work until 9. And so there was a lot of overtime hours that I was doing too. So, but life was just pretty easy, I would say.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that happened in the span of when we moved in 2008 and when we started posting videos in 2014, that 6 years. There were a lot of homes. Like Aaron's always been kind of a chronic Zillow searcher. You're always, even
User
now.
number 1.
Yeah, he's just always looking around and just interested in what things are selling for, what's available out there. And so we looked at a lot of different homes. There were a lot that I was thankful didn't either go through for us or we decided against. And we had decided kind of almost from the very beginning that we didn't want to have a bunch of debt. And that's because we made a couple of really dumb decisions. Right after we got married, Aaron bought a brand new Honda Civic, which wasn't an overly expensive car, but it was still brand new. And we had only ever had used things. And then I bought a used Mercedes, which, again, it was older, it was used, so it wasn't overly expensive. I mean, it was expensive to us at the time. We spent way more on it than we ever should based on our annual salaries.
Yeah.
But to repair stuff in that Mercedes, do you remember?
Oh, it was a pain in the butt.
Oh my gosh. And it was just the dumbest thing. So we shoveled ourselves out of that. And those were only the only 2 really bad financial decisions we've really ever made. But I think we're saved from a lot of other things that could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
We offered on the house next to my parents, which is was a complete dive.
Yeah.
And it would have been great for a couple that was handy.
Yeah. And neither of us really are.
No.
We're okay at gardening projects, but not at building projects.
Structural integrity is not one of my strong suits.
Well, it had vines growing in the basement, and I mean there were all sorts.
There was a snake skin in the basement, and I was like, oh. But we thought, well, it has the potential to be so beautiful. We'd be next to my parents, which would be awesome.
It was 5 acres.
Yeah. But I'm thankful that didn't happen either. Also in 2009, so a year after we moved into the townhouse, I had a miscarriage. And that would have majorly changed the direction of our life.
Yeah.
We probably wouldn't have started Garden Answer in that case. I probably would have stopped working as much, or I would have stopped completely, and we would have had a baby at that time. And we waited 9 years after that to have Benjamin.
Right.
So we had the 9 years between that and Benjamin to kind of get our careers, I guess, going.
Sure.
Start Garden Answer. And I don't think we've actually ever talked about that before, but yeah that did happen. So 2014.
Prior to that, though, we also bought the townhouse next to us because things were fairly easy, and we heard that the neighbors were moving. And so we thought, it might be a good investment property for us. And it turned out that it wasn't a great investment, but it was a good place to kind of store equity because you're having to make the payment every month. And I was trying to make extra payments on it as well.
Yeah.
So when it came time to sell that house, we didn't actually make any money, but because we had been putting extra payments on it,
it was like a savings plan.
It was like a savings plan, basically.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah. So we were able to buy, and I remember being really proud of being able to have both sides of the townhouse, because I kind of thought to myself, all right, we're going to be landlords. And it turned out we kind of didn't love being landlords.
And it wasn't our renters, because my sister rented from us for a long time.
Yeah.
My sister and my cousin rented. They were roommates together. So to have family next door, that was really fun. And then Jesus, who works down at the warehouse for us now, his wife, they weren't together at that time, but she, after my cousin moved out, she moved in and lived, was roommates with my sister. So it's a very small world, for sure. And we were able to, so 2014, we started the channel. 2015, we were still both working full-time. We worked full-time for 2 years after starting the channel. But it was 2015, just shy of a year. Oh, we started the channel because Aaron always was interested in YouTube stuff, videos. He bought a computer. I don't know why you bought that computer. Do you remember? Was it a gaming machine for you?
I don't know, actually. Okay. I think I had always been, my dad was a PC guy, and I had always bought PC computers before. And for some reason, I kind of got a wild hair. I was even a little negative about Apple people and, the common tropes about oh, you're just wasting your money and what an idiot. If you would have done a little research, you could have, got way more machine for less money. And I was kind of part of that. And for some reason, I kind of got a wild hair and thought, I'm going to buy a MacBook just to see, a MacBook Pro, and just see what that life is like. And we kind of had the money to do it because we didn't have kids at the time. So I bought that, and I was interested in video editing and music a little bit. like recording music, and it was so easy to record video and music on a MacBook. Like it was just far and away for me easier than it was on a PC. I couldn't figure it out. I was having driver problems and I just couldn't make it work on a PC. And I also bought a camera that had to record. It wasn't intentional that it was a video camera, but it happened to record video and it looked good. And I was like, oh man, this looks cool. And I have a computer to edit it now. And you were sort of like I just needed something to film. So I was like, here, you stand here and talk about plants, I guess. I don't know.
It was a disaster.
It kind of was in the beginning.
It was a disaster in the beginning. We were down at the garden center to film a project. I don't even remember what the project was. And we were both feeling vulnerable. We were both feeling like, I don't know why, like I was feeling nervous and vulnerable because I hated being in front of a camera. I hated it, like every part of it. And I hated that like presenter kind of like situation. I mean, you guys know I do not like to get up on stage. I do not like to do that. I could do meet and greets all day long and just chat with you guys, but getting up on a stage is a completely different.
I don't know why you said yes.
I don't either.
Like it doesn't match your personality at all.
I was just being
supportive. You were being supportive, I suppose.
Yeah. So I agreed, and we went down to Andrew's. We ended up in a big fight, and we ended up just calling it a day. I don't know what made us do it again, but we decided that.
Well, I was trying to sort of emulate some other YouTubers that I had watched. One of the big ones was MKBHD, who does tech reviews. And, he's been doing it since he was like a kid, basically. And the way he filmed things and the way he presented, I just was so enamored with the quality of his videos. And so some of the things early on, I was sort of like copying what he was doing. And the nice thing is that, we were in the gardening space and he was in the tech space. So there was zero overlap.
Right. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. Nowadays it's funny because you'll see people that are, will copy sometimes some of the things that we're doing. And it's different when someone in the gardening space copies what we're doing because it's like a carbon copy, but you kind of can cross genres, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, it doesn't really even matter.
Who was the other one? Casey.
Well, yeah, that
Casey
was a
Neistat. Little
bit later on. Casey Neistat was a big one, though. Maybe like a year or two into us making videos. He did a daily vlog, and I thought to myself, this guy is putting out a daily video by himself. And it turns out, he burned out after like a year or two. But I was thinking to myself, well, there's two of us and one of him. So like, surely the two of us can get a video out every day.
Yeah.
If one guy can get a video out every day. And that was really instrumental in getting the amount of content out that we started doing. Because we were kind of shooting for like, all right, let's just get as much content as we can out there.
And it started out, from the very beginning, and I think that there was a lot of wisdom that came from your end, and because I think that you watched how other people were doing it, and you realized that, well, content is king and being consistent is king. And so even from the very beginning, after that first video upload, we didn't even upload that first one until we had a couple more ready.
Yeah.
I think because we wanted to make sure that we were like staying with a consistent schedule.
Yeah.
So I think we were posting maybe once a week from the beginning, and then we bumped it up to twice a week.
And 2 picture posts a week.
2 picture posts. That's right.
It was all like
But you know what? I was
organized.
Responding to every comment at that time because there weren't that many, and there was
2 or 3.
and there wasn't as many posts going out. And now I can't. I read through a lot of them, and we answer a lot of questions in the recap, and I appreciate every single one of them because I do read most of them. I don't go back to older videos and read like new comments on old videos, but I do like keep tabs during the day that the video goes up, and I read everything. Anyway, so we were once a week and 2 picture posts, and then we went up to twice a week, but we were working full time, both of us, for 2 years after we started this schedule. So we were working nights and weekends and holidays. I remember being at your family's house on an Easter, and I was like, I gotta go home and take pictures of stuff real quick. So like we were determined. I don't know.
Yeah, we treated it seriously. Like we kind of wanted it to succeed.
Yeah.
And I remember, there were some people, most everyone was supportive. There was a couple people, like there was that one gal that came into Andrew's and she was like, I watched your videos. Hilarious. And I think I don't know if she was trying to be supportive, but it was a really weird comment.
I was like, they're not funny.
It's not a comedy.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching it, I guess.
Yeah, you are really vulnerable when you put yourself out there because, people can judge you for what you're doing
Yeah.
and it can be weird and
You two, I think, have to have a thick skin. And I think in the beginning, my skin maybe wasn't as thick, but I think it was thicker than a lot of people's. I don't think that a lot of people have any business putting things out on social media, not unless they're prepared for that, because we get it every day.
Yeah.
And largely, I would say 99.9% of our, you guys, our community, are super encouraging and positive. But there's always that, little bit,
Yeah, sure.
that you just kind of expect. And it bothers me like 0% now. So
2015 or so, I want to say.
That's my next date on
What
here.
would you have?
Proven Winners reached out.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it was before that though. Cindy connected with us.
Yes, it was. It was that spring.
Yeah, the succulent perch, and she was actually really. It was a big deal.
She was instrumental in a huge part of our initial growth.
Yeah, she had a Facebook page that had like 200 or 300,000 followers, which, in 2015 was a big deal. And she mostly posted pictures, no videos, I don't think.
I don't think so.
But it was mostly about succulents. And
Gorgeous arrangements.
We were just getting into succulents.
Yeah.
And she started sharing some of our stuff on Facebook and having an audience of 200, 300,000 people being exposed that were already into succulents, that were being exposed to our content was massive for us.
Yeah.
It was a huge help.
I think that probably most everybody that's in this space probably has that moment.
Yeah.
Where they're like, this person mentioned, or this person did that. And it was Cindy for us. And we got to go down to Southern California and meet with her. I think we filmed 2 videos with her. And it was just so fun. And she still keeps contact with us. Sent Benjamin out the lawn tractor.
Yeah, right.
A few years back. And you just really get to meet some special people.
Yeah, so that was a really big thing. And then that same year, Proven Winners.
And I gave Aaron a year when we very first started. I told him, I'll give you 1 year. And then that's it, because this is way too big of a thing for me. I'm so uncomfortable and I don't like this. But I'll give you a year because I know that you're super interested in it. And it was like 2 days before our year anniversary, Proven Winners reached out.
Yeah, and I didn't know what Proven Winners was at the time. I thought it was maybe like a talent agency or something.
Yeah.
But, it was just an email from, I think, Janine.
Yeah.
And
Who's still there.
Yeah, she's still there.
With her.
I still email back and forth with her. And it was just kind of one of those emails. They weren't working with anybody at the time because this was early in the landscape of social media influencers. I don't even really know the term influencer was a thing at the time.
Yeah.
But, Proven Winners had worked with some people in the past. They were currently at the time working with P. Allen Smith, who had a PBS show.
Yep.
And that was kind of all that there really was in that gardening space. There weren't really people on social media that were doing like pretty gardening.
There were a lot of, not a lot, but there were a few like organic vegetable gardening. There was M.I. Gardner and Callie Kim, and Epic Gardening was going at that time. Yeah. I think Impatient Gardener, was Erin going at that time?
I don't know if she was or not.
But she's got to have a similar, Erin, do you have a similar timeline to us? So there were a few.
A lot of like
there.
growing your own food kind of channels, and we were doing a little bit of that, but not a lot. When Proven Winners reached out and wanted to start working with us, that was another really big kind of an ego boost that somebody had noticed, and
it was encouraging.
Yeah, it was
because
really
up to that point, it's like friends and family,
right? And
then those few other people, that had found us, and our following was really small at the time.
Yeah, but we were finding some success on Facebook. We were starting to get some viral videos at that time. At the time which is how Proven Winners found us, is that we at that time maybe had like 3 or 4 videos that had gone over 1 million views on Facebook. And so that's how people were starting to take note of some of the things we were doing, even though we didn't have a huge follower count. And then what was about a year or so later that we kind of like finalized an agreement with them.
It was 2016, and a lot happened in that year, because in 2016 we sold both.
Yeah, both of our, which we had been trying to sell for kind of years, but it was sort of a weird market, and they just happened to both sell at the same time. And
we had nowhere to go.
We had nowhere to go, but luckily the people that bought the house we were living in couldn't move in right away, and they said, can we finalize the deal, but then rent it to you for like 4 or 5, 6 months?
We finalized in January, and we moved into this house on May 1st.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's like 5 months.
Yeah. And that was a huge help because that gave us, we knew we had sold the house, but it gave us 5 months to find somewhere new. And that was really difficult to find a place.
Well, it was scary because we had just worked things out with Proven Winners. So it was kind of a new, and so we were both thinking you were going to quit your job. I was still working full time, but I was going to start phasing out as well. And we didn't know, like when we worked things out with Proven Winners, it was a year contract. Like we're going to try this out for a year and we'll see how we'll regroup at the end. So we
And
knew
they asked us too. They were like, what can we do to help you, create content? And they were so good to us.
Yeah, they were.
Marshall
They still are.
He understood that like I can't push these people to promote, the way that I want it to be done or whatever. Just like let creative people do creative stuff. And
they've given us so much freedom, and there's a lot of things that they probably want me to do that I just won't do because I don't like. If I don't like red, I'm not going to say that I like red. If I don't believe in like something new that they're trying, I won't talk about it until I try it and like it.
Yeah.
There's
they like the houseplants. Like they've come out with houseplants.
and they send them to me, but you guys know, like I do houseplants this time of year, but I'm not like. There's
It's
a
not your
lot
bag.
of big houseplant YouTubers that do things like that. And it's just I like the way they look, but I like outside gardening. But I don't know. The whole feel from them is like do what you feel comfortable with, and we're not gonna like because we're supporting you doesn't mean that you have to completely be a shill.
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm not gonna do that for anyone.
So Marshall asked, what do you guys need? And I was like, honestly, like if we're gonna create more content, we need more time, which means we need money.
Yeah.
There's just no way around that because if we're gonna quit our jobs, we have to replace that money from somewhere.
Yeah.
And so that's what the contract was, and that was a huge thing that they so early on kind of saw that it could be a good partnership between the two of us.
So we sold the townhouses. We were going to be homeless in 5 months, and then we worked things out with Proven Winners. But then we had nowhere to go when we were trying to figure out where we could move. And back in that time, we needed fast internet, but we didn't have internet options like there are now. Like there was no called?
Starlink.
Starlink. There was no option for fast internet unless you were close to town. And so we were looking everywhere. We live in a very small town, and there was just nothing. There was nothing. And I was down working at the garden center. I think you were visiting. It was like a Saturday. And Dennis and Mary, who are close family friends of ours, they lived in this house. And they were down there, and we were just like, oh man, we've just been looking everywhere. And they are the type who like to look as well because they were like house flippers. They would move in, flip a house, and then move out. This was the longest one they stayed in.
They couldn't because of 2009.
Yeah.
The market crashed, and people just sometimes had to stay in the house they were in because the values just kind of went down.
Yeah, so they were in this house, I think, for like 10 years, which was really long for them. Anyway, we were just telling them about how we were looking around, and they were like, well, why don't you just buy our house? Which was laughable.
Yeah.
Yes, we were like,
It'd be
are
like
you serious?
if you're telling someone that you need a car and they have a Ferrari and they're just like, well, just buy mine. And you're like, that's not helpful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, I think it was like later that afternoon or something, you and I were talking and I was like, he said it. I didn't say it. He said it. I should ask him what they're asking for the house because, he said it.
Yeah,
like it's not
right.
weird for me to continue that conversation.
Because it wasn't on the market at the time.
No.
So,
yeah.
I wouldn't have asked him, like, hey, you interested in selling your house right now?
Yeah, so I called and they came up with a price. I think it was $450,
Which
is what
may
they
as well
wanted.
have been $5 million at that time.
It seemed like
I was
so.
like, no way, we can't do that.
It was
way
so
too
much money at the time. That was like rich people money.
Yeah.
And it seemed really out of reach. But I contacted. Actually, he gave me the number to a loan officer, and we started doing the numbers. And because we had been so diligent for so many years, having 2 incomes without any kids, because we'd been diligent, kind of like squirreling away extra money in this forced savings plan of a townhouse next to us. By the time we sold it, we actually did have enough down payment, barely.
Oh.
To be able to get into this place.
First 2 weeks, I was like, nothing can break. Nothing can break.
And it was by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, we were able to, we were looking at the numbers. Anybody who's done that whole house process and has been kind of like at the max knows how stressful it is because you're like, we need like $500 from somewhere. Like, where are we going to get an extra $500 to make this deal go through, or whatever.
And we were scraping. We were selling stuff.
Yeah.
I had Christmas cash left over that I put toward it. And then I think we had less than $1,000 when we moved into this house. And then we had to buy a washer and dryer because they took theirs, and we didn't realize, like, oh, that doesn't come with the house. Shoot.
Yeah. Well, and then the other blessing was that when they came and did an appraisal on the house, it only appraised for $420. And I think Dennis kind of knew, I need to sell it for what it's going to appraise for, because like
this
otherwise
is my chance.
it's a cash offer.
Yeah.
Somebody would need to come with cash, but you're not going to get a loan, obviously, for more than a house appraises for. And we didn't have the extra money, so the deal was just going to fall apart. So Dennis said, "All right, I'll sell it to you for $420." So we actually got it for $30,000 less than what we had originally agreed on. So that was awesome.
It was. And I remember we went to Aaron's mom before we made the decision to buy this house. And his mom's really good. Like, she's done budget counseling with people. And we laid out all of everything.
Well, because I think she was so good at figuring out in the 90s how to run a family on like $35,000 a year. You know what I mean? Like, she was really good at making every penny stretch. And we
just trusted her advice. So we laid out, like, okay, so we're going to be working with proven winners. Aaron's quitting his job. I think I went down to 2 days a week at that time. And so, like, this is what it looks like. This is the landscape of our finances. And she was like, do it. You don't have any kids. What's the worst thing that can happen? You get done with your year contract with Proven Winners and have to sell the house and move. You're not dragging kids around.
Right.
Like, just do it.
She said, you're employable. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You'll land on your feet. But it's an opportunity you should pursue.
Yeah.
And that was nice to have somebody close that kind of gave especially someone with more of a conservative, like a financially conservative mindset. That felt really good.
Yes, it really did. So in 2016, we moved in, May of 2016, and we moved right into the busy garden season here. And I was still at the garden center for 2 days a week until, I think it was like maybe later that summer, when my dad was like, because I just stopped kind of coming, you know, and he'd call me and be like, are you coming to work sometime this month? Just like trying to plan stuff out. Yeah. And I just told him, no, I think I'm done. Yeah. I think I'm done because I'm stretched way too thin. We had no help at the time. We did garden answer from this house. The original house land was 1.8 acres. So it's nothing like it is today. But it was still a lot, because when you're making videos, that is a full-time job with the quantity that we put out. So doing that, and then all of the landscape work and keeping up on weeds and cut back and all of that all the time, that was difficult. Yeah. Now, we did have help with house cleaning, and we have since we moved into our townhouse, 2008.
Well, we worked so much overtime that it was cheaper to hire someone to clean the house. Yeah. We made more money working those hours at our jobs than we did to clean the house. And we both kind of thought we should do that.
Well, and it eliminated the only thing that made us frustrated at each other, because I wanted it cleaned once a week and you were like,
I didn't really care.
You didn't really care. And I think that's probably a very common struggle. And we just thought, what can we do to just avoid this and eliminate the struggle from our marriage? Because it's not worth it to struggle over something like that if you have the opportunity to put in more hours. And, so that's what we decided to do. So we've had help with house cleaning throughout all of those years. Yeah. And still do. We love the gal that helps us in our house. We love her. Her name is Marla. And she's been a godsend. Yeah. She's awesome. Okay, so that's 2016, 2 years of living in this house. I don't know when we very first brought in help outside.
Well, we kind of like struggled through a few different people. We didn't really know anything about hiring or firing or any of that business. Marshall from Proven Winners was really encouraging to us about, you guys need to get some help. You're stretched too thin.
I think it was his prompting, because he is also like a man to respect too, because he knows the value of family and putting family before anything else, before your business, before whatever money you can make. And he's like, what can we do? Like, you need more time for each other. You need more time for your family. Once we had Benjamin, let's like make sure that you guys are getting what you need so you can keep balance in your life. Yeah. And that's huge, to have those people along the way, encouraging you in the right ways.
And what's funny is that, like, I think it indirectly benefited Proven Winners too, because he kind of knew that if we were getting our business straightened, working well, and kind of oiled, then it was just going to benefit everyone, because then the types of content we were going to make would be better because we weren't stressed out about things. And so it was a really good thing to have somebody kind of encourage us. Yeah, it's a good idea to hire out some of the things so that you can focus on the things. There's some things that you can hire out and there's some things that you can't. Focus on the things that you can't, and absolutely get someone to do the things that you can train.
Right. And I want to say that it was probably around the time we had Benjamin, which was 2018, that we really started to look for somebody more on a full-time basis. Because I want to say that we did at least the whole first year by ourselves. And it might have been maybe the second summer we were there, or maybe even the third after we had Benjamin, that we were like, we need to have somebody help with our kids. But here, just from time to time, thankfully we had family and stuff like that around, because we, you know, like your sister helped us out a ton, and the kids love her and we love her. And yeah, so I don't remember when we first had our first outside help, but
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we kind of struggled through a few different people. And then 2018, Benjamin was born.
And to be completely honest and transparent, because I know, I don't know, I think more people are talking about it now, but when you have a baby, it kind of like turns your life a little bit upside down. And
especially if you waited.
Yeah, we waited. Well, we didn't have any kids for 12 years, you know, after we were married.
The life as you know is over.
It is over. And we had a hugely busy business.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to me working. Like, this business doesn't exist if I don't make videos.
Right.
So, and it still does. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure and it's not bad. Like, I'm thankful for my life, and it rarely bogs me down.
Yeah.
During the winter, it can get a little bit harder because I don't want to make things boring for you guys, but there's a lot of things like clean out and that I enjoy doing. Seed starting, but it's a lot of repetition. It's just kind of the name of the game. And so I get a little bit like, oh, I need to create something different for you guys, but that's just not reality. But right after we had Benjamin, that was in January, and I mean, hormones are all over the place, and you know, just, it was busy, and it took me a while to feel like some people feel a connection with their child like the second they have kids. It took me a little bit longer than that, and I think there was just a lot of outside things going on that kind of hindered that a bit, because I was feeling so torn and I didn't know where to be and what I needed to do, and I really wanted to be 100% present for my baby, but I knew what I couldn't be. And I think that's a struggle for a lot of people. And we didn't have very consistent childcare. We had a few gals come in, like some young girls, like teenage girls come in and help, and thankful for all the time that they could give. But we didn't have consistent help with the kids until June. And it wasn't until then that I kind of felt like life is leveling out. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling like comfortable with how everything is operating. And I just couldn't imagine life without him at that point. He was a hard baby though too. He'd sleep for like 15 minutes at a time consistently.
He still rarely sleeps.
He's just not a sleeper. Like he can go to bed at midnight and get up at 6 or 5 in the morning and be happy all day.
Yeah. Never
in a bad mood. I don't think that child has ever been in a bad mood his entire life. Yeah, he was always been just both of them are such huge blessings. But that first few months were really difficult for me. 2018. Oh man.
And it was busy too.
It was so busy.
Was really, really busy. We had some, I remember we did some Home Depot sponsorship videos, and those were kind of a nightmare.
That was that probably #1 worst project.
Yeah.
It was in April. And I had a C-section in January, and like I was healed. I bounced really quickly from that one. I didn't bounce as quickly from Samantha. I feel like I still haven't bounced. She's going to turn 4 in January. But I still wasn't like 100% feeling great. And we were at my brother and sister-in-law's house, and we were excavating their ground and creating a patio, a paver patio. Yeah. Oh, it was just chaos. And we didn't have, I think you were watching Benjamin, but you needed to be filming, and it was just like we were torn all over the place. It was kind of chaos. And it was not.
It worked.
Yeah. We made it. Yeah. We made it through it.
And then I think the next big thing that happened was...
I'm sorry to interrupt. When did we start working with Espoma?
Oh, early on. It was
like 2017.
You know, it was around the same time as Proven Winners. Maybe even slightly before Proven Winners.
Because those are the two companies we've really worked with consistently.
Yeah. Espoma was working with like a marketing agency. And it was okay. Because there was a middleman, it was... I
forgot about that.
It wasn't as good as our relationship with Proven Winners because it was just directly with us
Yes.
and like the marketing director at
Well,
Proven
and we had
Winners.
direct lines to like Stacy at Spring Meadow,
Yeah.
and Krista at Walters. Like we had direct lines to all the perennial shrub and annual division, and we could ask questions quickly, like to the people who, like it ends with with them, So that was very, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we worked with Espoma. The thing is that we loved Espoma so much. We loved their products and we were using them. And, it was one of those things that was kind of like, you better work with Espoma because if you're not having a sponsorship with them, we're still going to use their stuff anyway. You know what I mean?
I know. It was an easy one.
That was and so we didn't have a great it wasn't bad, but it wasn't a great relationship, having that middleman. And that ended up, they got rid of them at a certain point, and then we started working directly with them, and then things started getting really, really good at that point.
And they're a family-owned business too. It's like we've been paired up with all of these wonderful companies that, I don't know, that celebrate the things that should be celebrated.
Sure.
And so it makes you feel like you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
Sorry, where were you going before that?
I think 2020 was kind of the year. Things were going really well from Benjamin being born until, several years had gone by. But COVID hit, and we didn't really talk about it. And I'm glad that we didn't. I think a lot of people were happy that we didn't. There was a couple people that seemed like, we should talk about it, which I think is kind of ridiculous because it's a gardening channel.
Well, there's a time and a place, and I feel like largely people were glad that they could come to a place where they knew it would just be about gardening. And we've been really careful, I think, to keep it along those lines. We do share, like today, we're sharing our personal journey, but that's kind of rare. And then like the kids will come in and out of projects, but I don't center anything around them. And we don't share a lot about our personal life. Like we don't talk about politics or religion or COVID, those things that are super important. Like all of these things are super important, and a lot of people are affected by those. And I don't want to minimize that, but I also want to be that place where people can come for like an escape.
It's not what we do.
And a break from that. Yeah, it's definitely not. Everybody has their opinions and their beliefs and all of that stuff. But I think we started our channel to be a gardening channel.
Yeah.
And that's really what we wanted to say.
I think the majority of people really liked that we didn't talk about it because it was sort of an escape. And, we were making videos from home. So by and large, like COVID really didn't affect us because we were in a small rural town.
Yeah.
We're spread out and we weren't on top of each other.
Even our employees, like they're doing their own thing.
Yeah, like
we
when the whole
we're operating the same.
Yeah, the lockdown thing. It's like, well, everybody's working outside, and there really wasn't a huge effect on what we were doing.
And I feel like there was probably the potential for a lot of employees to milk that situation.
Yeah,
we don't have employees like that.
No, which was really nice.
We have great employees.
But while it was a super negative time for the country, there were some winners in COVID, and I feel like we were kind of one of those because we just happened to be in an industry. We were making content, and people were home more so than ever before, and they started thinking about their garden and fixing up their space, and they started watching more YouTube, and so we benefited sort of from all that viewership. And I think everybody in the space did. I think, Kevin did at that time from Epic Gardening, My Gardener, all the people that were...
And there was a huge boom of new channels that started.
There was, yeah.
Because people had more time and they were trying to look for ways to make a different income or, or keep their time busy, and productive.
Yeah, but that was a big time. Around the same time, we bought some more land from our neighbor, one of the first purchases. I think it was 3.
Was it sub 4? Like 3.5?
I think it might have been 3.5.
I don't know. So we had 1.8, and then we added the 3+ right there in front in 2019. Benjamin was about a year old. That deal took about a year to work out. And then so it was Benjamin, the land, and then COVID. Yeah.
But it was around the same time. And then, and then we started buying more and more properties around us.
How many years? It was like 20, was it the year Samantha was born? So 2021, Samantha was born. So 3 years and 6 days after Benjamin. Their birthdays are a Sunday and a Saturday this year of the same week.
Yeah.
That's so hard. But we bought the land from Thornfeld's. That was the beginning of the dirt lands. And how many acres is that?
Around 3.
So that was maybe around 2021-ish.
Yeah.
And then this last year, we were able to buy the remaining acres, the acres behind our barn, and then the acres that connect to the dirt lands. So now we've got 12 acres.
Yeah.
So just, I think timing wise, everything worked out to where we were able to recover from one purchase,
Sure.
save, and then we were ready to do something different. And things have just worked out to where we've been able to do that.
Yeah. And then, this last year we started the online store, and that's been going really, really well. There's
Thanks
3.
to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you. There's 3 full-time employees down there right now. 3.5 kind of. But then we bring in a lot of help during busy times.
Yeah.
There can be 6 to 10 people down there if there's a sale that has gone on. Usually younger people that are just
teenagers.
Yeah, they want some money,
Yeah.
packing boxes and stuff like that. So, that's been a really fun thing that's happened in the last year.
I feel like it's grown faster than I thought it would, because we decided when we were going to do that. Well, it started in Ken's garage.
Yeah.
Ken, our former editor, Taylor now does our editing. So Ken wanted to create something. He just was interested in that, and he was just kind of passionate about it. And so he started doing that kind of on the side of editing, and it was just our merch at the time, sweatshirts and t-shirts and things. And then he kind of started to talk about we could grow this. Plus, we're outgrowing my garage.
Right.
We don't have space anymore. So we started to look at places, and I was kind of I don't know, because we didn't want to get we didn't get any financial help. We just are doing things as we can. So I thought it was just going to be a very slow start. And maybe if you compare it to other people's, it is a slow start, but it feels fast to me. It feels like we're being able to add, things. We're not we're just reinvesting. We reinvest, and that's what we've done through the years. We don't go out and buy a lot of, what we buy is land, and we buy trees, and we buy, product for the store. It all pretty much goes back into the business.
I think people can see that we have had a lot of success over the years, but I think people can see that we've invested in just more of doing what we're doing as money comes in.
What we're doing, and keep it interesting too. Because I think if we were on the 1.8 acres and we stayed on that 1.8 acres, it'd be hard to maybe come up with new stuff after a while.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as fun for us, and I don't think it'd be as fun for the viewers either to do as many. So, it's a huge benefit to us to be able to do so many different things. So it's just kind of a win-win when you can take kind of the proceeds of what's coming in and sort of reinvest it into that same business. But it's fun for us. Hopefully it's fun for our employees.
They all seem pretty happy. They're just such a wonderful group of people. We got so lucky. Paul started working for us. We had another employee at the time, full-time guy out here, and we hired Paul to come put in that fence, the range panel fence around our cut flower garden.
Is that 2020?
In 2019, I think. It was 2019, right?
No, it'd be 2020 because we didn't get the land until early 2020.
Was it early? Okay, so 2020.
Yeah.
And we knew Bethany through church, and I think you had sent out a message through some email group that the church has. Does anybody know anybody that could come in and put in just a quick a fence? And we just had the one job, and so she connected us with Paul, who is her brother. Now both of them work for us, but he came in and did that job, and we were so impressed. We were kind of we have lots of other projects. Do you just want to keep working?
Yeah.
And it just worked into a full-time.
Sure.
Yeah, and so it was just, everything happened naturally, and we could not do it without Paul or Bethany here. Bethany works here part-time, and I feel like it's such a good, because Bethany, she's got 7 kids. She's busy. She's got a full life, but she loves to garden, and she's good at it. And she also finds her time here very peaceful. She's got older kids too. So it's not a bunch of little kids at home, but the way the hours work, she can kind of call her own shots.
Yeah.
She can come in whenever it's convenient for her. If she needs to skip a day, she always makes sure Paul knows what was on her list that day to either water or whatever, and he takes care of it. They communicate with each other, and everything gets handled. I don't care. I don't care what hours you clock in and out, as long as it's handled. Who cares, So I think it works out really well for her because it's, just very flexible. But they're hardworking people, hard workers, and they do things the way we know that, or they do things the way that they know we would want them done, even though maybe not the way that they would do it. And then everyone else, Ken and Natalie Ken and Natalie have been with us for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Natalie helps with, I actually saw the question today as to whether or not we still get a lot of packages. We do. We do. We stopped doing mail times because it was becoming
Too much.
It was like a monumental task to go through a mail. And it was always, I felt like I could never give it the time that you guys deserved, those of you who like took the time to write letters and send out very heartfelt gifts. She actually collects all of the mail. She opens everything. She like brings it all to me and like presents it. So I don't have to deal with all of the packing materials or all of that. Like everything is just it works out really nicely, but it takes years to kind of hone that process.
Yeah.
I think we'll still keep honing it along the way. So at this point, 2025, we'll hit our 11th year in June. We have 12 acres currently, and I don't think that there's really any other, there's other pieces of land, but it's getting more and more distant from,
Right.
connected to different parts, and nothing is for sale. So it's kind of one of those things where I feel like we can start really focusing on like creating those big borders and
planting more trees.
And in terms of like going forward projects this year, we might reinstall the pondless waterfall.
Yeah.
We might move some garden stuff around, but we don't have any like massive installations.
No, there's no big plans this year, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
That it's, I think this will be a little bit more of a chill year.
A regroup year.
Hopefully we can just button up some more areas. I'd really love to just, tidy up some of the areas that need some attention and just make them look nicer.
Well, we've covered all of our dates here. I don't know if there's anything else.
That's pretty much the story.
That is the story of how we came to be where we are today. And I feel like through the years, I have been able to achieve much more balance, like mentally, and just, I feel like things are just, life is good, and I don't really feel the push to make things bigger or make things like be concerned about that like I used to be. Because in the beginning you wanted to make something of it to where you could live, make an income off of it. And so it was a bigger deal to make sure that you were going in that direction. And I feel like we've got to a point where, like, I don't know, I just feel more balance and more peace in my life.
Well,
now.
in a lot of respects, your dreams were kind of realized. It's like we got to the point where we're able to take an income off of it. We're able to pay employees, and we're able to garden. We're able to do the things that we like to do. And so, that is kind of living the dream.
It is.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's not all like...
It's not all perfect.
It's not all perfect for sure. You do have to deal with that. There's always negative sides, and and sometimes like I can miss that energy feel like that I would draw from other people when I work down at the garden center. When I'm here, I'm by myself largely. Like I'm not doing projects with Paul and Bethany. I'm by myself doing a project, filming it. And I don't really get lonely. Every once in a while I feel like, oh, I need to go down to the garden center and just get it out of my system, and like talk seeds and talk to people. But I'm thankful I have that outlet.
Yeah.
So there are definitely pros and cons. I feel like far more pros. Things have just worked out so beautifully. I think that's it, you guys. If there's anything that we didn't cover that you maybe want to know more about, let us know in the comment section. We'll try to get those answered in the recap video for this next Sunday. But I think we pretty much covered it all. We didn't talk about all the dates of when like the Hartley was installed, and, but those all exist in video format somewhere along the timeline. It's just crazy when you even just look out of the structure and look at all the things that we've been able to plant and all the things that I still need to like rip out and redo. There will always be projects here, I think.
Yeah, which is
till
good.
the end of time. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for sticking with us this video and just listening to our story. It's kind of fun to talk about and relive those moments. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and we will see you in the next video.